What's going on, everybody? Happy New Comic Book Day Eve. Happy Hawkeye Eve. That's what it's called, right? Hawkeye. Yeah, Hawkeye. I was going to say Kate Bishop for whatever reason. 2 days, less than 2 days away from basically everybody's Christmas, because it seems like more people are more excited about Spider-Man than Christmas. So yeah, it's going to be a busy next 2 days in the comic world, of course. It's already getting crazy. I just saw, just before we kicked it off, YouTube notified me that there was a clip from No Way Home already leaked. So after today, I'm probably going to just take a little break for the next day and a half, 2 days until I go see it, because I don't want it to get spoiled. Not like I don't think, let me rephrase. I don't think that there's anything that they're going to do to spoil it. I feel like we just went crazy on this. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, we got a good show for you guys today. Mr. Automatic Comics is in the house. He's going to be talking numbers with us, keys to still invest. So that's going to be happening tonight. And yeah, let's get the show started. Let's bring out Mr. FaceTime. What's going on, man?
What's going on, bro?
Not much, man. Not much. Excited for this week or what?
Yeah, it's not too bad.
Are you okay, Face? I forgot to ask you. Well, maybe I asked you, but I forgot. But are you going on Thursday to see the movie or no?
We are going on Friday.
On Friday. Okay. All right. Fair enough. I will be exhausted on Friday because I'm going to the 10:30 show on Thursday. So I'm going to be exhausted. Now, let's ask our guest here what time he's going to the movie and if he's going on opening day. Mr. Automatic, what's happening?
I haven't even seen Eternals yet. So I probably won't be going on opening day.
Oh, okay. All right. Are you okay with people spoiling how Eternals ended or what's happening?
I already know everything, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, okay. All right. Perfect. So you just have to see it just for like your own.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'll enjoy it, but I don't know. I just haven't been that motivated to go to the movies. So I saw Shang-Chi. That was fun, but I don't know.
Shang-Chi was all right up until like the dragon part.
Until the third act. Yeah, the third act was
that's when I was like,
great.
Okay, all right, this is what we're doing. Because up to that point, I was like, okay, we're gonna get like an epic father-son battle,
Well, I mean, I'll tell you what that third act felt like to me was.
Don't say Iron Man 3. Do not.
No. Iron Man it's 3. Like I used to love playing the Final Fantasy games, and it felt like the cut movie scenes in Final Fantasy like 7, where you're just like, you feel like you're just watching something, like that's like, it just feels animated. It doesn't feel like it has anything to do with the movie. And so I don't know. I felt like they kind of dropped the ball in the end there. The other parts of the movie I really liked. I liked the fights with his dad. I thought those were great. I thought they actually built, gave some depth to his dad as a character, whereas a lot of the villains, you don't get that. But man, I mean, the third act just didn't really do it for me. Like I didn't know anything about that demon dragon thing that came out, so I'm like, it just means nothing to me.
Yeah, it was special. It was a mind fuck. I remember I went with my wife. My wife was like, "The fuck? What's going on here?" And I was like, she looked at me like, I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on here. But yeah, up until that point, I thought it was a good movie. Eternals, I mean, it depends who you listen to, right? Some people hated it. Some people loved it. I was on. I feel like
I've heard a lot more people liked it. It seemed like critics didn't like it. Is mostly where it came down to.
Critics and people who thought Venom 2 was like the greatest movie on the planet. Those were the only two people I think really hated Eternals. So I don't know. Tonight, I think today was the release date on DVD and Blu-ray, if that's still a thing, for Venom 2. I think it's today or tomorrow.
I also did not see that in the theater.
Yeah, no, just don't even worry about it. Don't even worry about it. Just take like if there's black Play-Doh and just throw it on the road, and then like throw red Play-Doh, and that's the movie basically.
I never understood how that first movie made like 800 million. It just blew my mind because
people are bored, man. People are bored. What do you mean?
I don't know. It had more, I don't know, comedy than I was expecting, and or attempts at comedy, I guess I'll call it.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, it's like, okay, he's not good with sounds, but he's going to like a mixer. Okay, yeah, no, that's totally good. Like I felt like there was just a lot of lovey-dovey between the symbiote and Eddie, and I'm just like, I don't really need this right now. Like I just need to get it. There are rumors, Ryan. I'm not sure if you want me to. There is something going around, and I don't know if many people have heard it, but there is what I guess you could call a deleted scene that they deleted And in this scene, it is the symbiote Carnage talking to Woody Harrelson's character. And, if you don't want to know, just let me know. We can, move past
I
it.
think I'm fine. You can tell me.
Okay. So apparently in this deleted scene, the Carnage symbiote is talking to Woody Harrelson's character as and telling him about like the universe and the symbiotes and like the time stuff, and brings up Null. But apparently it was deleted, so I don't know. But there are some people saying that that's happened.
I mean,
so.
like, that's the thing. Like, to me, Null feels like something that Sony would do, not something that Marvel would do. I mean, I don't know. It feels like it's like, oh, that's the cool new thing that, last year that everybody was into. And that's what Sony does. And that's why Sony makes kind of crappy movies. Whereas Marvel,
super rushed.
Marvel, yeah. they have a long thought out plan. They are definitely not going for what is the hot thing right now. Right. That's clearly not what they've been doing.
No, so I don't know. And you know what? That's funny because Null is actually going to, he doesn't make it on our list today, but there is another character that I guess is up there in the sense of like how fans want this character to like hurry up and rush. And I don't think we're going to see this character for a while, but it did make this list of keys we still like to invest. So let's get the show started. Again, people, if there's anything leaked throughout this show, please don't let us know, because I want to go into the movie on Thursday, with an open mind. So let's kick the show off. Mr. BC will be joining us a little bit later. Yeah, it's going to be a good show. So let's kick it off. Ryan, are you on Hawkeye at all, the show by any means?
Yeah, I'm maybe at one episode behind.
Oh, one episode behind? Okay. All right.
Yeah, I've been watching that. I like that show. I think it's good.
I do too. I don't know why people are hating or the fact, like I saw some.
I've mostly been hearing people. I've seen a lot of people say it's their favorite MCU show they've seen so far.
Yeah, but that happens every time we have a show or a movie, though. Like
not really. I mean, like I didn't care for Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah, that one I'm like, nah. But I mean, like WandaVision, Loki, like I thought
WandaVision and Loki were good. So they deserve to have people say that.
True. Face, except the first two episodes. I thought WandaVision first two episodes were horrible. Just so we're clear. Because Face always gives it to me where he's like as the show went on, I'm like, man,
he was crying pretty hard after those first two episodes.
Yeah, and Face would be like, yeah, but you hated the first two. I'm like, yeah, so did everybody else. So it is what it is.
Not everybody.
Before we start the show, let's just say hello real quick, and then let's get it going. Dan De La Torre, silver. I'm seeing Dan with the gold, actually. The Lost Kid is saying hello with the silver. Take some silverware there. Michael, less than 48 hours away from the big event. Hope it lives up to the hype. I think it will. Hopefully, right? Hopefully. Mr. Bleecker Street, what is happening, sir? Wesley, one half of the future specs. Wet dreams. I was trying to think of something creative.
Well, I just rolled right into it.
I was just like, no, I'm just gonna, Empire, what's going on, man? How you doing, brother? Serge, Parole, everybody, hello. Sam Rock, what is going on, sir? Mr. Black Crown, hopefully he gets to join us a little bit later. 22, what's going on? That man had those rings for thousands of years and didn't do near the shit that Shang-Chi did in 5 minutes. Come on.
That's true.
That is true. So yeah, Miguel's in the house. RP, let's do it. Wet Dreams has got beers on. I've actually got Kirkland because tomorrow I'm doing some family stuff, so I can't have a headache or anything. So we shall see. 22 is also saying Null is too soon, but we are getting Gore the God Butcher. It's true. But for how long, right? All right, let's get the show going because I am excited to see what these guys have to say about these books. So, Keys, I'd still invest in, or we as a group here. First book, Ryan, I can't wait for your reaction. All right, we got Hell Risen.
Some of us would still invest.
Hell Risen number 3, important first print. This is a character that I was kind of talking about the whole Null stuff, right? So as much as people are trying to get Null to hurry up on the blue screen, or on the big screen rather, a lot of DC people and a lot of comic people in general are trying to rush to get Miss Punchline in. I do think that this book is way undervalued right now for something that could potentially be pretty big down the road. Ryan, your thoughts?
I mean, I am a DC fan. Batman Adventures 12, first Harley Quinn is a big book for me personally that I really like. So, I mean, I get it. Like I get the popularity of another kind of like potential big female lead. I don't know if we should expect to see something that's going to drive up the value in that character in the near term. I mean, if it's something that's tied to Batman, they only can do so many Batman movies at any given time and introduce so many characters. And, this next one seems like it's got quite a few actually in it, with Riddler and Penguin. And I think there's another
Catwoman.
one in there too. Yeah, Catwoman. And so, I mean, they're relying on their big, well-known names to sell. And so this is one where the only people probably that are really know Punchline are comic people. It's not a name that's well known, everywhere else. And so I'd say if they maybe started off with something where it's in animation or something like that, where they get people more familiar with the character, and if they kind of get a base for that character, then I could see something off in the future. I could see it maintaining. I don't know if I would see it as something that has a big catalyst to like spike it anytime in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe in as much as DC can be safe, I guess. Like it's just, I mean, obviously it's got a lot of spec value for DC because it's the biggest character that they've introduced in a while. And people are really interested in Punchline. They like Punchline and everything, but it's DC, man. What again? Like Ryan said, what are they going to do outside of another Batman movie? And we should be sometime soon hitting the lifespan on those before it kind of gets to the point where we're just sort of recycling shit. I could see maybe the character showing up on the CW because DC loves to do weird shit like that. But like,
no,
who even wants to see him show up on the
Yeah, that's the death sentence, man.
Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, I could see that though. That's possible.
I personally believe that they could bring this character in animation because they have. I mean, I will say DC's animation is pretty good for the most part. I think they could bring the character in there right there. Yeah. Margot Robbie is not going to play Harley Quinn forever, but they do have aces up their sleeve, right? With like a female that they could bring in to play, Poison Ivy. I've said that for a very long time, right? And Ryan's right. Oh, well, Face, you said it too. Like there can only be so much Batman that they could bring in and do. So I totally get it. It's not like, Marvel and the Avengers where they can do movies every 3 years and just have, like Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, this, with Batman, it's like, it's Batman. But I think that they also have something in those dark stuff, like what they did with the Joker, even though it doesn't connect to the DCU, with, what's his name? Joaquin Phoenix, right? Like, I feel like, and we've talked about it, Face, many times about like, if they were to do something like that with like all their villains, like say your Riddler, say your Mr. Freeze, I think that they could have something because it is dark. And I think they could do something. I think that they could do something dark with Punchline. I mean, she's still kind of crazy. So, yeah, I think so. Right now, this book in a 9.8 is $200 Canadian. I've seen it as high as $250 Canadian. So right there for a possible book that could go up down the road. Now, I'm not saying down the road is in maybe like 6 months, but down the road is in like 2-3 years. It's possible. Now, the debate is too, Ryan, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but there is a character named Miracle Molly.
I am familiar with that character.
Okay, yeah. So there is some, I don't know. A lot of people are like, after Punchline kind of went away for a while, then Molly came, and then people started saying, "Oh, I'm gonna be, Molly." So I don't know. I don't know about Molly. I prefer to think that Punchline's gonna be, down the road somewhere.
I mean, that's the thing though. Like, I mean, Marvel and DC, they introduce characters all the time. So it's the question of, is it a character that's actually going to stick? Like, what was it? Like Red Goblin was a big character in Marvel for a period of time. And now it's like, nobody cares.
Yeah. I think they're introducing
3 issues.
yeah. I think they're introducing Lady Red Goblin in January or February.
No, Queen Goblin. Goblin Queen.
Goblin Queen. Yeah, okay. No, because she's red, so I thought maybe that's what it is. Yeah. I think we should just stick with Hobgoblin and Green Goblin before we go down that rabbit hole of like Gray Hulk, Immortal Hulk.
Oh no, yeah, we definitely need more
yellow,
multicolored goblins.
Just all that shit. Like, oh man, come on. All right.
Get those bag of goblins.
Vancouver Comic Junkies in the house. I guess he's only saying hi to Ryan.
That's right.
All right. Well, thank you. Doesn't hurt my feelings at all. All right.
It's my show now.
You don't downfall at all.
Taking all your subs. That's how it works.
All right, Ryan. I'm very. I want to know because we've talked about this book, but this is ASM 569. This is the second print. It's got the character on the cover. The first one does not. This one is expensive as hell. Like crazy expensive.
No, I mean,
always been expensive.
That's the thing. Like I'm familiar with all these books. Like I pay attention. I know the modern stuff. I usually don't buy it as much, but yeah.
Are you surprised at the price point on this one?
It is an expensive book. I don't know I guess you've got it up there, but yeah. I mean, in a 9.8. I mean, I'm guessing the print must be just really low. I don't know what the print count is on this one, but that's the only thing I can see that would really justify those kinds of prices. I mean, even that, it's like I don't know. I feel like that's getting up close. I mean, it's not quite there yet, but it's at about where ASM 300 was like a year ago. You know, 9.8. That's crazy to me personally. Like to think that the first appearance of Anti-Venom is up at the same price as first appearance of Venom. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. But
now here's another stat, and I don't know if it changes anything. I just thought it was a coincidence, but actually on eBay there were the most sales for this book in the past like 2 months. So I watched TiVo's show Lords of the Long Box with all those guys over there. And he always talks about when you see a book out of nowhere, just like kind of sell, and like there's nothing about it. Like usually those are like the company people, as they say. I forget the wording that he uses, but like there's always a reason why a book's hot. And I don't know, with all the symbiote stuff.
Sometimes it could be insiders. It could be somebody that knows that knows something. It could also be it's that whole thing where, I mean, I don't think manipulation is very rampant, but it's out there. It doesn't take too many sales of a book to move that little GPA chart. So
100%. Yeah.
So you can see, like, if somebody happened to have multiple copies and they want to do something like that, but I don't know if that's the case with something like this.
With this book, I've always wanted to have this book. I think just Anti-Venom, I think, is a cool character. Nothing like I'm not going out on a limb and say, he's my top 10 character. No, nothing like that. I just think he's a cool character. I wouldn't mind having this, but when you look at some of the price points, right? So like, in August it was $1,600, and then in September it sold for $2,400. So again, it's just continuing to go up. And I do a comparative where I'm like, okay, I would never pay $2,400 for this book. There's just so many more keys I could get, or buy certain books and flip them and like almost triple my money instead of buying this one. So I don't know.
I mean, the things that scare me with books like that is like it's like what we saw with ASM 361, like the first Carnage, where and anybody that if you see people like talking about like how it's like, oh, the prices are falling with that, it's like anybody could have predicted that.
Yeah.
That is not a surprise that those prices spiked leading up into that movie, and they are tanking. That is what villain books do. You can buy and sell villain books and make money and whatever, flip books, but you've got to sell them into the thing that they are appearing in. Because once they're done, they're done quick.
Ryan, do you remember when I was talking to you about certain people like attacking me because I sold my ASM 361?
I thought it was a 300, but was it 360?
No, well, I sold my 300 too because I just it was a 9.0 and I had already made like $600 from flipping it. But yeah, the 361, like people were like, Newbie, you're crazy, man. Like Carnage is going to be massive and this, and he might down the road. But I mean,
he was well received, but
yeah,
but I mean, even hero books after a movie shows up, the prices tend to drop, and villains just seem to be a little bit more. So,
yeah. But like you could pick up a 9.8 now Carnage for like basically what you were picking up say like an 8.5 pre-movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I think a 9.8s are down around like 550 now, something like that.
yeah. So,
It was
and
up
again,
around
and I personally think
1600.
that it's still going to go down. I think there's still going to be another dip.
I mean, I don't know how much more. I mean, it is
Yeah, I
a
don't know that there'll be too much more
it
dip.
is still a key, you know, like it is still a decent key for Spider-Man, and it is still a Spider-Man key, which is a big deal. And so
Yeah.
I don't know how much more it's going to drop, but I think it's probably around there where it's at.
Yeah. Spexman is saying, how can you buy this instead of buying an America Chavez first with 600 left to spare? That's true. That is true. And she's going to be showing up in Doctor Strange 2 as all the toys, Legos, all the stuff is kind of leaking out. So, yeah, that's good. We need Rogue in the MCU. Yeah, we do. Funhouse, what's going on? Squid Game. Newsstand, low
Yeah, my
print
Avengers
run.
Annual 10s would appreciate if Rogue would show up in the MCU.
Squid Game Marble is saying newsstand, low print runs, rare second print. Dudes here, these pavilion FOMO bells, and they severely overpay. Yeah, 100%. I think this one also, I mean, like, let's look at when the price really jumped, though, right? In September, it kind of went up, you know, leading up to the movie, right? Because the movie was going to be in October. So I'd rather pick up first America Chavez and New Avengers or Young Avengers. Yeah, I was going to say New Avengers.
Wasn't
Face.
there some rumor about this version of the character potentially showing up in the movie too, or some shit?
I think that was just hearsay. I think people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was too, but I do believe that rumor went around too. And
Yeah, I mean, hearsay is enough to move books. I mean, nobody
Right.
knows if like Submariner is going to be in that next Black Panther movie, if we ever get that next Black Panther movie, and
Yeah.
and that spiked those books like crazy. You know, just the rumor that, you know, it's like, oh, this guy might play this character.
6.5s of that book before that announcement, they were going for like $400 Canadian. Now
Yeah.
a 6.0 is literally like $1,200. It's ridiculous. It's just crazy, but that's the game, right? All right. Oh, Face, I was going to ask you, don't you have this and the cover A? I thought you got these off the shelf.
Yeah, we have that.
Okay. There's 3, if I'm not mistaken, right? Isn't there like a third print?
I think so. That I don't have.
So there's the first one, which is, just refresh my memory. The first one is the one with like the Venom head, or is it the one with like that that team that's kind of like surrounding Spider-Man on the ground?
No, I think that's the one with
the Venom head.
Yeah, I think it's the one with the head.
Okay. Because I always kind of get confused because there are, when you get up to this like number of Spider-Man, like it, you know, there are like different prints and stuff like that. So I just wanted to make sure.
Right.
Hey, I'm not hating on it. I love Rogue. Rogue was my first crush.
No, it's because I have a couple Avenger 10s and they've fallen a lot in the last like 4 months. So yeah, no, I wouldn't mind. But yeah, no, that was my thing, like, as well. Like when I was a kid, Rogue. I mean, that X-Men cartoon. I think that was like every, you know, guy that watched the X-Men cartoons.
I hope in this new show in like X-Men 97 they draw her just like they did back then. So you know, hoping. All right. Next up, we got Bloodstone #1. Some people have told me that this is their booty book. I mean, I see why, but I don't know. I personally, I hate, like, I love her there, but I just hate everything else about this book. But this character is getting a lot of heat lately. I do think that there's still a lot of meat on the bone for this one. I think even in 9/8, going for 1640 Canadian, when this character does. And if, because there's a lot of heat going on this character, this one still could double, right? And you know, Ryan, Face, correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, we could hear rumors or we could, you know that a character is coming, but until this character is actually in our face, it does not spike as much. But I do think that there's a lot of meat left on this bone on this character.
I mean, me, if I was buying this book, I'd be trying to buy raw copies of this book. I don't think I'd be buying, you know, 9/8 dropping. Would that be like $1,300, you know, US? But if you could find a number of raw copies and maybe get lucky and try to, you know, get a 9/8 or 9/6 out of it, I think that'd be a way to go for it. Because I mean, for what's a relatively modern book, still having that much value in outside of 9/8. You know, 9/6, 9/4, and 9/0 selling for what, like 250 or 240 US. I mean, that's That's a lot. Like, I feel like there's probably a lot of 9.0s out there that you could pick up raw.
Right. Yeah, I'm with Ryan on that. I would definitely go after this one raw before I would grade it, just because, you know, it is a modern. You should be able to find it in good condition.
Please don't.
It was pretty low print run, I think. So, you know, there's probably not a whole lot of them out there that aren't graded at this point, you know, especially with the prices that it's starting to get to. But I'm sure they're still out there. It's a cool new character that people want to see, and it leans heavy into the horror side of the Marvel universe, which is something that people are definitely getting excited about. I mean, I know I for one am. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's the one that we'll probably see show up at some point, as Marvel leans more into that horror side. You know, see some team up with Blade and characters like that. So
yeah, that whole horror world. Yeah.
hell yeah.
I think the problem with this, have you guys ever seen issue 1 through 4 like right beside each other?
Yeah.
Ryan, you know?
No.
Like they are different. They're basically different books each time. Like the writing, the art, like it's really weird. Like you look at issue
They do
number
kind of have a
2.
little bit of a different vibe to them.
Yeah, it's like totally different.
Is it different cover artists or something like that for all of them? Or?
I don't know. I don't know if it was strategic or not, but it was just like they're all different. Like you look at them and you're like, oh, this is probably a different series if you're not familiar with the character, and then you're like, oh wait, no, this is literally issue 1, 2, 3, 4. Like it's really crazy because I actually prefer issue 2. I love that cover. It's white. She's wearing white. She's there. I really like it. I really think that this character does have a, you know, I'm not going to say massive future, but with the whole, you know, the horror world and Blade and all that, I could totally see this character jumping. We've seen many books and many characters come, and even if they're not, you know, a mainstream character or anything like that, the book just jumped to like 25, 28, sometimes $3,000 Canadian and 9.8. So I personally think that this one will go that route. I really do. But Ryan, you're right about one thing. You can find them raw because there are a lot of shops that have them. The only problem is, and I'll vouch for Specsman here, is the problem with this book is in raw it sells for 9.6 graded prices.
Yeah, I'd never pay that.
Right? That's the only problem. So you're already paying like $400 or $500 for a raw. I know in my shop there's one that they have, and I think the guy's priced it at $375 Canadian.
Yeah, they definitely try and get graded prices for this for sure.
Yeah.
But it's so low print run that they can get away with it. I mean, you know, as a retailer, like you know, there's not a whole lot of competition out there for it. So
Yeah. I wish I could afford this one because I know Vancouver Comic Junkie, he was really big on this book throughout the summer.
I saw him in here, and I know I feel like he was buying a ton of those.
Yeah, I want to say he's got about like 10 or 15, maybe more, because sometimes he surprised me. He's like, "Oh, I got like 25 of these."
I have a short box, so
yeah, right. But he's smart, man. He's smart. He was picking these up, and you know, Chris, if you're in here or you watch later, you were picking them up when they were like fucking $5 books, right? So you could sell one and just make your whole money back, but oh man, it's just crazy, like literally crazy. I know Chris is really big on this one, so you know, usually he's right on a few things, and I say few. So yeah. All right.
He's not going to give you tips anymore.
All right, Ryan, this was one of your picks here, but we got Detective Comics 298. You talked about this in one of your videos that you recently did about 2 weeks ago, if I'm not mistaken. So it's the first appearance of the second Clayface.
Right. Yeah. Or otherwise, it's kind of called like the first Silver Age appearance of Clayface. And yeah, I like this book for, yeah, that's crazy, 30 to 50. But yeah, no, when I was looking at different Batman keys, like key villains from the Silver Age, this was one of the most undervalued books, in my opinion, of the ones that I looked at in comparison to each other. And it's definitely a character that they haven't tried to use yet, you know, in any of the movies. And they've used pretty much every other major villain that Batman fights against in some movie, whether it's, you know, in any time period. You know,
we're not going to pay. Okay, hold on. Are we really counting Poison Ivy?
I'm counting. I mean, she was used. She was there.
Oh God. Okay. Right.
But yeah, no, but I mean, like you actually saw them at some point, but like this is, I feel like I can't really think of another major Batman villain that we haven't seen you know, I mean, we've seen Penguin, we've seen Poison Ivy, we've seen Joker, Riddler,
Man Bat,
Scarecrow.
Phantasma, or is that how you say it? Phantasma?
I don't know.
You're talking about Phantasm?
Phantasm. There we go. Jesus.
But this is one we haven't seen yet. And so, I mean, to me, that means that there's potential. I think with CGI now, it's something that could potentially look really good. And, you know, like I said, undervalued book, it's not a real common book. It's a relatively uncommon Silver Age book. They don't come up for sale all that often.
As you can see from the data.
Right. But, you know, I still, compared to other Batman books, what they've done with the prices that have moved with everything else this year, this one has kind of lagged behind. And so that's why I felt this was a good option to pick up for those reasons.
You know, it's pretty easy to tell when characters, you know, being underutilized. And Clayface is definitely underutilized when it, like Ryan said, in the movies, haven't had any appearances at all. But even in the comics, like Clayface has been so underutilized that they pulled off a complete like heel to face turn just by Batman asking him like one day if he wanted to be a good guy. You know, he just wanted to join the team, and all of a sudden he was part of the Bat family. So, you know, obviously they haven't used Clayface a whole lot. Even in comic storylines, that they've fleshed out the character enough that they can't get away with some shit like that. So yeah, he's definitely someone that's not used enough and should be used more. So this is one I would love to add to my collection. So.
This might shock a lot of people. I probably would have bought that PGX 5.5 for $450. I probably would have. Like if I would have known, like how, you know, I
mean, it all depends. You've got to look at it.
Yeah,
because it's one of those things where, I mean, PGX gets a lot of crap, but sometimes their books are graded the same as what you'd get at CGC. Sometimes they're overgraded, and more often they are undergraded. Sometimes they're undergraded, and more often they're overgraded. You know, and but that's where at least being able to cover grade, you know, you can maybe get a good idea if you're okay with it. That often is the problem with PGX books, though, is that people often will find that something was missed on the interior, you know, like, oh, it was missing a page, or, you know, like the Marvel value stamp is missing, you know, and like that is 100% happened with like 181s.
Yep.
And that's why people aren't willing to pay as much for them, just because they're afraid of that risk. Also things like restoration. You know, that's something. So you take a risk there, but it's definitely something where, yeah, if you can get it for a good enough deal where the risk is worth it, then yeah, pick them up.
I was just thinking, Clayface is the only one, but other than that, I mean, I feel like we've seen pretty much everyone. I know Specsman said Killer Croc, but wasn't he in Suicide Squad? I thought.
Yeah, I think he was in the first.
I mean, if you want to call that Killer Croc, it was definitely a very different take on Killer Croc. So
still, I mean, it showed up, right? So yeah, when you do, I mean, there's Clayface, and then there's Phantasma. What the face? How do you say it?
Phantasm. Mask of the Phantasm.
All right. Yeah. I know I'm gonna get eaten alive from that one. So, all right. Well, wait, hold on. Isn't that like the girl who in the anime? Because there was an animated movie when I was growing up, and people remember I didn't start speaking English until like I was 8 or 9, or 9 or 10. But there was a Batman movie with that character, and didn't it turn out to be like the girl that he like married or something like that?
Along those lines. Yeah.
Okay. Is it still a female, like, or is that like I don't know anything about that villain, so that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, I mean, it's still the same person that it was, as far as I'm aware, anyway.
It's the chick. Okay.
I know that storyline is something a lot of people have wanted them to do live action on, but I don't know if that'll ever happen or not.
Yeah, because it's not like fairly like modern either. Like I think the movie came out in like 96, 97. So I mean, it's a character that's been around for a while, right? So we'll see. All right, my wheelhouse right here, Fantastic Four. So we got Fantastic Four number 18, first appearance of the Super Skrull. Skrulls. this whole thing with Secret Invasion and all that, I think is going to just take off. People have been saying, hey, get your scroll stuff for like a year now. You still got a little bit of time. This is an early book. Fantastic Four, obviously number 18. Great book to have, regardless of spec or not. If you're a Fantastic Four fan, you would love to have this one. This is going to be taken off very shortly, more so. I do want to just show people that an 8.5 is basically $5,000 Canadian. So, yeah,
it is not a cheap book, especially in nice condition. I mean, most of the time you see it, it's like a 1.5 or a 2.
Yeah,
it's usually pretty beat up. But yeah, no, I think it is crazy how cheap. I mean, even Fantastic Four 2, First Scrolls, like how cheap that book really is compared to, some of the books around it, given how much Marvel is leaning into them, and just being, it's also second appearance of the Fantastic Four. They're all on the cover. The Skrulls are actually on the cover. And then with this one, the question is, will we get that character? I mean, because I don't think we would get it with Secret Invasion, because we're not going to have the Fantastic Four yet. So it's something that's going to come probably later, but I could definitely see them potentially having that character show up. It's Fantastic Four 18. It's early Fantastic Four. It's a key. It's definitely, from what I've seen, has been coming back down again. And so to me, that's when you take advantage of this, when you see those prices come back down from when, because, and I've mentioned this on my channel too, earlier this year, basically everything went up. So you had everything went up regardless of if it should have gone up or if it shouldn't have gone up. And then over the summer, we've pretty much had everything go down regardless of it should have gone down or not.
Yeah.
And so now we are starting to see, I'm starting to see some books are picking back up again and are touching those prior highs. Some of them are reaching new highs. And so now the market is being a little pickier about what books are going up.
Yeah.
And so it's more dependent on what things people really decide are important, instead of just blanket everything. Now it's what things are really coming. What are the really big books? What are the important books? And so if you see discrepancies in that, where this is a character that you think could eventually show up, especially with the Fantastic Four eventually coming, then yeah, I would be. I mean, I almost bought a copy of it a couple days ago. I've been looking. I haven't found the right copy at the right
Brian,
price.
I thought you had posted, because I was trying to do was I was trying to like match some of your pictures that you had for some of the books that we've been doing, just so that people don't think, I'm bullshitting when I say, no, Ryan has like 10 copies of certain books.
I don't own this one.
No, you don't own. Do you own Fantastic Four 2 or no?
I used to.
Yeah.
I used to have a couple copies of it. I've sold both of those.
Damn, man. You
You
kind of had me on this. I've been hanging around Ozzy too much, and like Ozzy is a big second appearance guy. Like he'll buy all the second appearances of things. And I'm like, I don't know about that. And now, like, now that I'm hanging out with him a bit more, I'm like, some characters,
I actually just talked about this, I think, on the last video I did, where it was about second appearances, and I was talking about Moon Knight stuff. I was talking about Werewolf by Night 33, and I'm not a huge second appearance fan if the book is already cheap. If you're talking about like, and granted, Young Avengers 1 isn't really cheap anymore, but like if you have like first appearance of like Kate Bishop, that kind of thing, but like a lot, because I think that's her first appearance, right? It's Young Avenger 1. Yeah. So like a lot of modern stuff, I'm not gonna go for second appearances. If you can pick up that first appearance for under like $100, you'd get the first appearance. But when you get to books that are much more expensive, like Werewolf by Night 32, where you're probably not gonna be able to get that book under $1,000 hardly anymore, yeah, go to that second appearance, because now you're gonna have enough people that want that as an alternative, that it's going to actually move. They tend to move in tandem with the first appearance. So you can spend a tenth of the money, and if you believe in that character, when that character eventually shows up, if that first appearance goes up 100%, the second appearance will go up 100%. It'll just be $100 book going to $200 instead of $1,000 book going to $2,000. It's generally what I've seen. I mean, you don't have to buy that super expensive thing.
No,
you can get the same return on something else that moves in the same manner.
And to your point too, Ryan, because I've had this conversation with Specsman, and actually Specsman was the one that kind of like enlighten me about, like, I knew about it, obviously, you know, you can look at numbers, but like he was kind of just the one that was like, no, but like you don't necessarily need like the 9.8 or the 9.6 in some books either, right? Because like,
Yeah,
you
no,
know,
that's true. Now that is actually something I talked about as well, where it's like, because I was talking about Moon Knight #1, because Moon Knight #1 is around like $900 right now, and a 9.8, 9.6 is probably, I don't know, like 300 or 400. I don't, but yeah, the other ones will tend to move similarly, like the lower grades, but you'll generally, at least I think it's probably a little easier to sell the higher grades. You know, so that's the thing where it's like the prices might move similarly, but you're probably more likely to be able to sell the 9.8 or the 9.6 versus that like 8.5 or something like that. So that's something to take into consideration.
Yeah. Super Skrull is a cool character, but like Ryan said, he's heavily dependent on the Fantastic Four for his powers. Now they could
we know they're coming though, right? So that's the key.
True. Yeah, so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised down the road at all to see him show up, especially once we have the Fantastic Four and they start interacting with the Skrulls. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's just a natural correlation. They could do a different take on Super Skrull and give him some other MCU characters' powers. Whenever they bring them in for like the Secret Invasion storyline, whenever they bring in the Skrulls, anyway. If they bring in Super Skrull that early, I think they could hold off and wait on Fantastic Four for him. So,
I think
it feels like
that's a good point though. They could possibly have him use somebody else's character or somebody else's powers. You know, like give him.
Yeah, I mean, there's potential there. I can see it happening. So you know, there's probably still a little bit of time on it, but who knows how long with a character like this? Because you know, there's definitely flexibility there, especially since he's got, you know, Mr. Fantastic's powers.
Yeah, and I also don't think that would be that would be a villain that they would bring like right away when they introduce Fantastic Four. Like I personally think,
Right.
you know, similar to what I said about Spider-Man 2099 with some of the villains that I was talking about, is like, you know, people always want to get these characters and then bring in like some of their like biggest adversaries, and it's like, why? Like, why do you want to get rid of these characters right away, right? Like, as much as I love Galactus and I want Galactus to come into the MCU and stuff like that, like I would hate for them to like bring him in once and then be like, he's dead, you know? Like,
right? When are we getting the Fantastic Four Mole Man movie? God damn it!
Yeah, like give me Mole Man.
We've all been dying for.
Yeah, like give me those.
Watch
dude.
that is the villain they use in the.
I know, right?
Ryan,
make this happen.
Before we switch gears, because we kind of touched on the subject of second appearances. Tales of Suspense 40, because Tales of Suspense 39 is just getting crazy up there. Even though there's not much spec, you know, there isn't much spec, right? Because if he comes back, it's going to be in AI form or flashbacks. It's not really going to be like a present, you know, Iron Man. What would you say to people who are just like, you know what, maybe I can't afford Tales of Suspense 39. Maybe I should just go after 40. What would you say to those people?
I mean, that's reasonable, but what you said is actually a concern I have specifically with that book. You know, I mean, it is a big Silver Age key regardless, but it's much more a big Silver Age key within the last 10 years. I mean, it's always been, but you know, the MCU has brought a lot more attention to Iron Man than, you know, I mean, I know it hurts some people's feelings, but he was like a C rate.
Whoa. No,
that's why they still had him, you know.
I know, right? Ryan, you're being awful generous there. A C, come on.
My wife has told me many times. She goes, like, when I tell her the price, because like it seems like weekly, I'm like, babe, it, like, I just told Face, like last week it was 18,000 Canadian for a 3.5. Now it's 21,000 for a 3.5. And I tell my wife almost every week, and she goes, "Why can't you have like a cheaper favorite character?" And I'm like, that's not how it works. Okay, like I just can't go back and be like, you know what, this is my favorite character now. Like I have an Iron Man 3 poster that's been hanging on this wall for like,
you could be like, well, Mole Man was my favorite character.
Yeah, like I can't go back now, right? It would feel incomplete. But that's where I'm getting, man. Like, because I have Iron Man 1, and even that book is just, I don't know what's going on with Iron Man 1, but like in the past 3 months, I've been watching that book because I've been trying to upgrade, and that book has just skyrocketed too. But I'm getting to the point where I'm like, okay,
it's come back some though. It used to be earlier this year.
Iron Man 1 or Tales of
Iron
Suspense?
Man 1. Iron Man 1. Tales of Suspense 39 hasn't yet. I mean, I personally, like, I'd love to have a copy of the book. That is one of my, it is really one of my favorite Silver Age first appearance covers. For some reason, I like that blue. Like, I think that the blue on there looks really cool next to kind of like that weird off gray, you know, kind of like background. But
yeah, I love it. I always get people asking me, they're like, why didn't you get in CGC? I go, one, I got it for a steal. And two, like, it's not going anywhere. Like, I would never sell that book.
I get that crap from you and Jake in the chats when I like, I'm like, hi, I picked up this super awesome, like, rare book. And you're like, it's CBCS. What are you doing?
Hey man, sometimes, you know, Jake is like the guy that's poking, but no, I'm genuinely interested.
Yeah, not white pages. What's the point?
I'm genuinely interested in I figured you would be the perfect guy to kind of talk to and ask about that, like the Tales of Suspense 40, right? Like, will I feel complete? No, but I mean,
it's a cool book because it is the first gold armor, which is a actual cool differentiator. I'm not a huge fan of like the guy he's fighting on the cover,
Gargantuous or whatever,
Gargantua or something, whatever his name. Yeah. That's a downside for me on that cover. But it, to me, like, that book is so cheap with like second appearances. Like when you're talking about second appearances, usually with most second appearances, especially in like Silver Age, the second appearance goes for about 10 times less than the first appearance. It's almost always, you know, but that one, it's quite a bit less. Like it's significantly less than that. Yeah. And so it, as a second appearance, gets a lot less respect than it seems a lot of the other second appearance books out there. So it seems undervalued, but I think the cover hurts it a little bit.
2.5s CGC are 800 Canadian.
2.5 CGC. I mean, yeah, they've gone up with everything else this year. I mean, I think I had a 3. I used to have it was like a 3.5 or a 4, and I had it listed for months at like $600. Nobody wanted it. You know, it's like one of those things where it's crazy how prices, like, you know, they change. You know, it's.
I've got a few books coming back from CGC. I've got a few books from CGC coming back, and hopefully, I'm able to kind of turn those investments into, you know, Tales of Suspense 40 or something like that. Because at this point, I mean, Tales of Suspense 39 is just.
I mean, you need to like just keep an eye open for things, because like there was, I know it's still expensive, but you know, I watch that Heritage Weekly auction every week, and maybe like 2 months ago or like 6 weeks ago, they had a CBCS, I think it was like a 4.0, 3.5, 4.0, and it was beautiful. Like I think it probably would have graded higher if you, and I almost guarantee you the person that bought that book has already cracked it out. You know? And it sold for like 10 grand. It sold for like 4 or 5 grand under the CGC book. And that's where, you know, I
wouldn't care, man. I wouldn't care.
I mean, that's one of the things I do. I especially with rare books or really expensive books, I look for those opportunities to buy, and I'm not cracking them out. I just like, if somebody wants to let me pick up a book for a discount just because it's in a different piece of plastic, I will gladly
100%
pay less money for that.
100%. We got another fan here. So 22 is saying, I'm waiting on Tales of Suspense 39. It's eventually got to come down. Yeah. The only problem too with Tales of Suspense 39, before we move on, because I don't want this to be a show about Tales of Suspense 39, but the only problem with Tales of Suspense 39, and I said that a lot, is that there's so many, like, there's reprints, there's the golden reprint that they go for big bucks, and then people sometimes.
I don't think there's a golden record reprint.
Not golden record, similar to like a golden record.
Okay.
Like there's it's Bleeker was talking to me about it. I had no idea. Like, I knew that there was some reprints that were worth a bit more, but some of the prices on them, like, it's just ridiculous. So we'll see. I'm looking to buy FF48. The price seems to be right, but it does not seem to be very rare according to CGC. Is it a good buy for long term? Yeah, it's not rare at all.
But I mean, like, Hulk 181 is not rare. Like, there are over 10,000 copies of that book graded, but it is still worth it.
Very in demand, though.
It's demand.
Yeah. Very demand. I could maybe sell my Hulk 181 for a Tales of Suspense 39. Who knows? We'll see.
There There you go.
All right.
Yeah, I mean priorities, whichever one you want more.
Yeah, fuck.
Right.
Well, I thought I was taking the investment side, but you know. All right, Ryan, we got another one of your books, and we're staying on the DC side, but we got Batman 155, Silver Age Penguin, because let's face it, the first actual appearance of Penguin is pretty pricey.
Yeah, and so this was actually, I'm pretty sure this was because I was talking to you after I had made that video, and so I had a few books that I had found that seemed really underpriced for what I felt they should be, and this was another one, and especially because, and I think this was the number one on my list, and it was because not only, you know, it's first Silver Age appearance, which is cool. He's on the cover. I think the dragon cover is fun, but then you've also got just the fact that he's in the next movie, and they're talking about making some other properties around that character. You know, whether, I don't know if it's going to be movies or shows or whatever. And so it's a villain that also has longevity.
Yeah.
And you know, so I felt like this one was a really good book to pick up. And his second appearance is also a good one. It's another pretty cool cover. But yeah, no, I'm all for that book. I bought a copy of one. I think it's sitting in a box in a room over there that I haven't opened yet.
It's in a box. I mean, yeah.
I got to film the videos.
I mean, Batman's fighting a dragon.
Yeah.
He fights a lot of dragons in the Silver Age. It
Yeah.
like, if you look through the Silver Age, I'm like, how? I was like, how does Batman run into so many like dragons?
Right? Like, there was fucking dragons all over Gotham City in the Silver Age.
Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. I mean, and the Penguin's in the issue too, which even makes more sense, because why not? So they just threw shit at a wall in this one, and yeah, I mean, Penguin's definitely an iconic Batman villain. So, you know, you can't go wrong having adding it to your collection. You know, he's coming in the movie, and I guess he's getting like an HBO Max series or something.
Okay, is that what it is? Yeah, I wasn't sure what it was.
Something like that. I'm not sure which it is. But yeah, they've definitely got plans for the character. You know,
I'm pretty sure it's like a bronze statue. I think that's what it is.
Yeah, right.
Not a live dragon, but he is fighting live dragons in other ones.
Yeah. You know, I got to be honest, this cover has always kind of just turned me off from like even buying it or coming close to it.
Oh man.
Yeah, I don't know why, man. The dragon, and then yeah, I don't know. But I've always thought the same thing. I'm like, what's going on here? Because like he is supposed to be a statue. Like if you look at the bottom, it's kind of like, you know, statuesque. But then like the fire's coming out and like they're running. So it's like, is it a statue? Is it half? Is it not? Is it, you know, like what's going on here? So yeah,
it was the Silver Age. We don't question this shit.
Yeah,
Go with
but
it.
it's right though. Yeah, Keep It Thrown is right. It's like silver, like the Comics Code Authority. It's like they got rid of anything, you know, that was could be at least like a little bit controversial, and you get
Right.
a lot of dragons.
What's up, Thorough, my brother? What's going on, everybody? If you haven't checked it out, the indie show, even the auctions that this man does with his crew, make sure you guys go check him out. Keep It Thorough, one of the best in the community, one of the nicest guys. I remember doing our video together, and we were basically talking for like 2 hours before we even remembered to, you know, do our video. So hopefully in the future we're kicking it again. But make sure you guys go and check out Thorough if you haven't. If you're new, never heard of him, you know, because it is, you know, possible, and you know, there's so many YouTubers, but make sure you guys take a few minutes and check out Keep It Thorough. He is my brother over there. Those aren't dragons, they are T-Rexes. Batman just traveled back in time a lot when they thought dinosaurs were dragons.
That's also technically true. I mean, he does fight a whole shitload of dinosaurs.
Yeah, he fights dinosaurs too. That's true. Yeah, and there's like an underwater dinosaur cover, you know, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
Listen, Mel V hates dinosaurs, I hate dragons. That's kind of how it works. So
And both y'all sound crazy as hell.
all right, let's get into some Tales of Suspense, because we were just talking about it. Ryan, you really like this book, but this is Tales of Suspense 52, first appearance of Black Widow. Let the people know why you think it's still a key to invest in, especially because, well, spoiler alert, she has died. So
yeah, and that definitely hurts it, you know, but that's why that book has come down significantly, you know, and it has come down quite a bit from where it was. And so that's for me why I was I've bought a copy of it as well recently because I felt like it's come down enough where I'm comfortable buying it. I think it's early Iron Man. It's a cool first appearance. It is a really cool cover in person. Like that image doesn't feel like it gets like the colors quite right. It's like a really unique color. It really pops with that Tales of Suspense with that kind of like purplish background. It's a cool looking book. And so, I mean, I don't know how much it's really going to move up in the future, if there's going to be something that's going to really drive that. But I think for
Crimson
a long
Dynamo?
term, yeah,
Right?
I think for a long term, just hold on a book. You can't really go wrong with it now that prices have come down, because that's the other thing. I mean, similar to Iron Man, similar to any of these other characters that are kind of reaching their end in the MCU, they're now really part of kind of like that. They're much more part of the general culture than just comic culture. And so a lot of people are now familiar with this character. And so that's the kind of thing that I also like to look for, where it's something where it's not just comic book collectors that might be interested in that character, but it expands out to other people, where it's, who knows, kids that watch those movies when they're kids, and they grow up and they're like, they remember this and they want to end up getting this, 20 years from now or 10 years from now, that kind of thing. So,
would you put this one, and I don't want people to like hate me for saying it, obviously two different spectrums here, but I'm just thinking about like how iconic these two characters have been. They're pretty much, the originals, the OGs. When you look at this book, would you say it's almost like similar to Fantastic Four 52 in a way?
yeah. And I'll say Fantastic Four 52 is another book that I've been watching for it to come down, because I'm not sure. I'm not sure what they're going to do in the future with Black Panther specifically. They're clearly going to continue with Wakanda based storylines, but I mean, they've said they aren't going to recast the character. I don't know specifically what they could change their minds. They might, but I feel like that's similar, where Fantastic Four 52 has stayed surprisingly strong to me after Chadwick Boseman's death. I thought that was going to just tank the prices of that book. And it really hasn't. And so I could see that in a very similar, kind of like a very similar vein.
Yeah. Well, Black Panther, I think, has it's a little different for Black Panther because people are holding on to it more because of the connection to Chadwick Boseman and everything like that, I think. Whereas Black Widow, this is a character, like, whenever a character comes into the movies or something like that, and then their story arc or whatever their movie is done, we kind of just forget about them. They sort of fade out after time, and you see those prices kind of slowly drop over, however long. But this one's a little different in that people are like super off of Black Widow because like it's a character that is dead in the movies. Like that's completely dead spec. But it's such a huge character that it is a great time to pick up an issue like this, because I mean, she's iconic. She's not going anywhere in the comics. She's still huge. She's still Black Widow. And just people aren't paying attention to this book at all because of the MCU stuff. So yeah, if you're a Black Widow fan, this is probably a great time to grab this.
I thought, as Ryan was talking about this character, and like, I didn't know why he wanted this book on this list when we were talking, but now that I actually think about it, and I was here, listening to you, Ryan, like it's up there with Fantastic Four 52, I think, in that, she is a character that we've seen since 2008, 2009. She's been around for a long time. She had her own movie. She's, been with a lot of characters, but it's got that cultural thing. Like these characters that we've seen in this original thing that kicked it off. These are the original. And this is what people, kids from like, I don't know, what do kids do parents let their kids watch these kind of movies at what age, right? Like from that age on, like I'm assuming that
I saw Aliens when I was like 7. So,
well, I only say that because
Eternals
had like sex scene, right? So like Marvel's kind of going into that direction, if you call it that. But like it's just
hopefully they don't.
A lot of these kids are growing up with these characters being like the focal point. So like similar to like when like Ryan Face, we were all pumped when we heard that X-Men 97 was coming. Why? Because that's kind of the you know, the show, the cartoon that we watched when we were growing up, right? And same way that some of those books exploded, or some of those characters, same thing. You know, kids are going to look back and be like, oh, this has got to be one of those, right?
I went back and tried to rewatch some of the original X-Men cartoon from the start. Oof. It's rough.
It's rough. Yeah, I was gonna say it's pretty rough.
It's like, maybe it gets better later on, and I need to like skip ahead a few seasons or something like that. But man, those opening.
We were a lot younger back then, so
oh god.
You know.
And that's why I'm saying we were a lot younger then, and it was like you couldn't say like ass on TV or hell. So I'm hoping that they draw those characters the same way that they did back then. Empire saying, hey, in 25 years when the whole MCU gets rebooted, I don't know if I'm ready to see an Iron Man reboot in my life. So I hope it. Yeah, I don't know.
Probably
you'll already have Natasha. That's a good way to look at it. Again, I love this book simply because I love Tales of Suspense. I love the art. I love the word bubbles on the cover, and it's the first appearance of Iron Man actually starting to do the YMCA. So it's a good book to have. All right, big book time. Tomb of Dracula, number 10. I don't even need to explain what this is, but I will anyway. First appearance of Blade. Ryan, you haven't seen Eternals, but
I know he's.
I don't know.
I think you see him. He's like off screen, right?
Yeah. So you don't see him at all. It's just his voice.
Right.
And basically he says, "Are you sure you want to do that?" to Mr. Dana Whitman. That this book, anything Blade related, basically just exploded like the night after the movie, and it's still going up. So yeah, this one.
See, but that's not what I'm seeing. Like that's what's see, because I literally just I'm right. I'm gonna after this. I'm filming my next top 10 video, and this book was on it because it had a low sale, and I was looking at multiple grades, and I've seen a general trend. You know, it saw a spike with the movie, but then it's like it's coming back down, and I feel like it's people that are stuck on the fact that they didn't like Eternals, you know, or that Eternals spec tanked, you know, like Eternals 1, 2, 3, 5, those books all fell real hard. And I feel like it's kind of taken down this as well as like Avengers 47 and 48 with it when it shouldn't. And so that's where that's why I think this is a book where I had somebody comment on one of my videos maybe like 2 months ago. They're like, oh, I wish Tomb of Dracula 10 would come down. And like, you know, I want a copy. And it's like, I feel like it is some. I don't know how much of a chance you're gonna get. It might come down a little bit more, especially around now. If you have money to buy books around Christmas, if you find auctions, you will usually be able to get pretty good prices because people are buying Christmas presents and all that kind of stuff. This is the time of year that it is really a good time to try to pick up some books if you can. And so this is one where. Yeah, we definitely know that he's there now, and he's supposed to have his own movie, but they seem to be, they keep leaving it out of the announcements whenever they're talking about movies. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know why they're doing that. But yeah, supposed to have his own movie. Marvel seems to be wanting to expand into all kinds of different areas, you know, monsters and, you know, street level stuff and, what is it like, cosmic level stuff, you know, all that. And so I think that this is if you see prices come down, if you see discounts on this book, I would be picking up a copy. I'm definitely watching them. You know, I'm looking for, you know, books to hit the price that I want. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely still up from this time last year. Everything is. But what I like to do is I like to look at where they kind of like, when I see, I'll estimate what I feel like the fair market value is for that book, and where they've hit a peak, and I look for those discounts to current fair market value as well as pretty significant discounts to a prior high, because especially with books that we know we have things coming, you know, more content or whatever coming, you tend to see those highs get retested and sometimes passed, and so that's why you should, you know, take advantage of that. I mean, the thing is, a lot of people have a hard time buying books when they're dropping. You know, they only want to buy them when they're going up, and so you end up paying too much, you know, or buying at that peak, and when instead you try to buy it on the down slope.
Yeah, I mean,
but yeah, I agree with Swaggle House. I mean, I feel like, I mean, that's like a lot of these. You'll see when movies come out. I mean, the same thing happened with like Eternals. You'll see a lot of books drop for sale, you know, like at the same time on eBay. So you've got to be. I mean, yeah, if your goal is to flip the book, you've got to be ready to sell.
yeah, I mean, you obviously knowing that Blade's coming at some point, you can't go wrong with this book. And especially because, you know, we all know that there's spikes once you get that trailer and, you know, that opening night basically. So you can't go wrong for flip purposes with this book. And it's an iconic cover, it's an iconic book, and an iconic character. Definitely one that I would love to add to my collection. I mean, I'm surprised it's not, you know, on like a more of like a peak right now because of the, you know, the Eternals movie and that sort of.
I was too. I was expecting to see that, and I was really surprised to not see that.
Yeah, I think the same thing happened with Shang-Chi.
Blows my mind.
Same thing. I think this book basically is going to do what Shang-Chi did. Shang-Chi, before the movie, like, you looked at the price, and I remember there was an 8.0 for $800. Now, I don't, Ryan, you might have, maybe you think that's a little high at the time, but I mean, after the movie, that book skyrocketed, and 8.0 was almost like $2,500. So for the flip purpose, if you're just looking just to make a few bucks, I mean, that was a smart investment right there, because you almost made, like, let's say $1,000. You didn't have to wait that long. I think the same thing could be said for this one. This one might drop a little bit with all the, you know, like with Spider-Man coming out and things like that. You might have a little window, and then when we re-see him again, who knows? You know, I personally think you have until about Moon Knight, until this thing like really starts heating up like big time.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just more surprising though, because like, I mean, Blades, you know, is more of an established property already, in the fact that, you know, we've gotten successful movies with Blade already.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, people know that Blade can succeed. So I don't know. It's just weird to me that it hasn't spiked more. But hey, whatever. Yeah, if there's still room to grow, then.
Yeah. But with what Kamikaze said, I know I've heard the same things with like Hulk books though, where, you know, or where it's like we had Hulk in older movies, that kind of thing. It's like old spec doesn't really matter when you've got what's happened now. You know, with what's happened with comics in the last couple of years, like things that happened. I mean, when did Blade come out? Like 2000 or something? 98?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Like that type, you know, that
sounds about right.
Not driving book prices, you know. So I think I don't really pay too much attention to stuff that happened 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah,
with respect
doesn't count
to movies. You know, it doesn't. I mean, it's similar to what happened with Abomination. You know,
sure.
Like, yeah, he appeared before, but yeah, prices spiked again when they saw him again. Now that was a book to sell. That was a book to sell.
Man.
But
I don't want to say I told you so, but I told you so on that book to a lot of people. I remember people, no, newbie, you're crazy, man. They wouldn't just bring him in just for like a little bit. It's got a deeper meaning. No, it does not.
That's pretty much exactly like what that character is like built for, though. I mean, there was such early talk about them bringing him back for like something like that too. You know, whatever.
It seems like we might see him again in something else, but I feel, yeah, it's going to be like little bit parts like this.
Right, exactly. Like, he's probably not going to be. I mean, unless they do a Hulk movie, you're not going to see him take the center stage.
Well, let's kick it. Let's stay, rather, not kick it. Let's stay on Eternal people that kind of showed up with books that could spike. But we got Avengers 48, first appearance.
Just talking about that.
Of Black Knight. This one, I paid $600 Canadian for a 7.0. 7.0 now are going anywhere between the ballpark of, say, I mean, they're selling on eBay for about 1,600 Canadian, but you're kind of seeing them after the movie sell for about 11 or 1,200. So it's still good profit there. I think there's a lot of room to grow with the character, just simply because he hasn't really taken the mantle of Black Knight. I was gonna say Black Panther of Black Knight. That really would have confused a lot of people. He's like, wait, what? Yeah. So he hasn't really taken the mantle of Black Knight, and I think that kind of, in a way, helped the book because realistically, through the Eternals movie, if anything, it should have made 47 spike. 48 should have been, you're like, oh shit, I should have bought that book, because now 48, I mean, we know he's going to come back. There's going to be another Eternals. Obviously, he is signed on for 4 projects or 3 more after this one. So this one will spike again, but I think this one will spike when we actually see him in costume, when he takes the sword. Ryan, what are your thoughts? I think you told Jake to sell his. I can't remember.
Yeah, I told him to sell it when his like 9.0 was going for like $3,000.
Yeah. Smart.
I think he traded it though. I think that's how he got his Hulk 181. So he kind of took my advice. But yeah, no, I mean that's another one of those books that I feel like you're gonna ride the movie wave with this book, because if you look, when you look at this book like 5 years ago, it's like
nothing.
Nothing. Yeah, it was nothing. like I feel like a 9.0 or 9.2 was probably like $100.
I passed this book up at like $200, I think, in like 8.0, 9.0 area, and I was like, I don't give a fuck about this character, and now I'm like, fuck.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like that's why I feel like this is definitely I mean, unless you're like a huge Black Knight fan, like
all 5 of them.
I feel like this does really feel like a you sell it when the trailer drops, you buy it when after you see him on screen, and then you get the lull and then you sell it. Like, this is definitely one of those where there's another book. I'm trying to think, when did I've said where I wouldn't hold it long term, but I can't remember now. But it's definitely it was Avengers 8. Like Avengers 8 to me is like it's a ride the wave type book. If you want to buy that book, you sell it when you get him appearing in trailers or appearing in shows, and you buy it during the lulls. Like that book has dropped quite a bit since we saw him in Loki, and I have bought 2 copies of it since then. It's like I mean, it's just like you take advantage of that stuff, and because you do this. I mean, depending on how you work the hobby or use the hobby or whatever. I buy and sell books that don't matter to me as much to buy other books that matter to me more. I think that's what a lot of us do. And, this would be a book that would fall into that category if I had a copy of that one. I have a copy of 47. I don't have a copy of 48.
Yeah. I mean, so Black Knight's a cool character and everything, but he's one of those characters like that definitely benefits from being in the MCU as opposed to having his stories in the comics. Like, as comics fans, I think it's pretty much established that Black Knight is kind of a niche character. Like, he definitely has a fan base out there, but he's not huge. Obviously, he's not Batman or anything.
I don't think yet. I think yet he's not.
Yeah, I mean, he's the type of character that could be strong for a number of years, however many, but I feel like it's something where he'll drop off pretty quick once they remove him.
Right, that's the thing. He's going to benefit from the MCU and casting that sort of, fits that type of character. In Kit Harington, we've seen him play that type of role before, and people liked it. So, yeah, he'll definitely benefit from that. I don't think we're going to see Kit Harington in a bright yellow cape. They're probably not going to put the helmet on him if they can help it, too much. They'll want to show his face as much as possible, of course. They'll lean into the casting for sure, and people already love the actor, so it'll definitely benefit from the MCU. But yeah, I agree with Ryan. I think afterwards it'll be interesting to see what happens to this book once the Black Knight lifespan has run its course in the MCU. Right now, there's definitely still room to probably flip this thing.
I need this character to show up ASAP because nobody wants to buy this book off me, it seems. Mine is pretty cheap too, comparative to like other people. So yeah, I need him to reappear so I can sell it. Because just before the movie, he was going for about 1,800 in 7.0, so it's kind of dropped off, but we'll see. All right.
Yeah, I mean, I could. mean, however patient you are, I could see it coming back. So.
Oh yeah. Once he's in that costume, it's game over. All right. Final book here. We got Marvel Special Edition 15. This is one of Ryan's favorite books to talk about right now. First appearance of Shang-Chi. Like I said, this thing has exploded since the movie. Ryan, let us know.
Yeah, so I mean, it definitely hit its peak earlier this year. I mean, that's no question. It's one of those that I if it hadn't, I was very nervous selling books earlier this year because prices were going up so fast that we didn't really know what was going on, and so it was unfortunate that when that was happening, that's also when the trailers dropped for this movie and for Eternals. But so it peaked in like the April-May timeframe. Then it dropped, and then it came back up around the movie, and I would say it's come down, but it has started coming back up again since they announced that, surprise, they're going to make another movie, which shouldn't be that much of a surprise. But no, I'd say it's still, there are a lot of copies out there. I mean, there's a lot of copies out there that are available. And so there are opportunities to pick it up, especially if you watch auctions. And, and I hurt myself when I say that, because I have a few copies that are for sale, and I always fix price. So, but my advice to others, is that if you watch these for auctions, you can find some pretty good deals. And I mean, it's pretty clear they're planning on using this character for a while. Yeah. And so I think it's still a good longer term buy, where you're talking about like 3 to 5 years, because I don't know exactly when that next movie is going to come out. I wouldn't be surprised if it's 3 years from now or 4 years.
Yeah,
from now. It could be a little ways out. So you got to remember that. I mean, there's a lot of things that can go on between then. Now we might see him in other properties between then. That's very possible. But like, for all I know, he'll show up in Doctor Strange or something like that. But
I'm interested to see how the rings and all that were, like especially that end credit scene where, like, they had, Captain Marvel, they had Hulk there, they basically said, hey, you're an Avenger, and, the energy.
That's what made me wonder where we'll see him again, was that scene. But yeah, no, I don't know. And, but it is something where I have seen some turn back up, in demand for this book, but I could easily see it, people forget again for a little while.
Yeah.
And then you'll see prices come back when you get another trailer or something like that, or another announcement for where you have a more official announcement for the movie, where it's like you actually get some content, what's going to be in it. You have other, maybe villains cast, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, he just kind of, fallen off a little bit since the movie's done, and you got a little bit before he shows up in whatever it will be next. I agree. I don't necessarily think that they'll wait until his next full movie before we see him pop up again. So, because I want to keep him around, use him as in cameos and credit scenes, shit like that. It's a great character, and it's finally getting some of the recognition that it's deserved for a lot of years. The whole sort of niche genre that Marvel has going over there in the mystical Asian arts side of things, it's been very underappreciated, and they've built up a pretty good lore that they can tap into now. It's good to definitely get to see them do that, and this is a starting point for it. So, there's still a lot of value there. I think, whenever we see him more down the road, especially with I think the pretty central role he's going to have in that side of the MCU, for sure.
I think those rings are going to be bigger than we all think at the end of the day. I really do. I think that's going to be massive. Now, whatever it is, again, I know Ryan hasn't. No, Ryan.
I mean, they had to give him something like that, though, because otherwise he's so underpowered compared to, all the other big characters. You can't compete with like the Hulk or Thor,
Black Widow, Black Widow, Hawkeye.
Yeah, well, that's why they were always, they were never fighting the real big villains.
Right? It's like, yeah, you fight that big monster. I'll make sure no one comes behind us. Right? Like that's.
I mean, I mean, even Captain America, I feel like they had to stretch a little bit to make him like kind of compete
dude.
with Thor, you know?
They made him seem like he was like Thor or Superman, for God's sakes. Yeah.
MCU Captain overpowered.
Yeah. So yeah, that one is actually one of my favorite books on the list, Ryan, because you've been talking about it for a long time, and I know you've advised me to pick it up. So you know, it is a smart book. He is coming back. When? Who knows? But you know, it's a good book to have for sure. All right, guys, that's the show. Ryan, before we take off, man, let the people know if you're new to Automatic Comics, this is the first time you're seeing Ryan. Ryan, let the people know. I know I joke about you having like $2 million unboxings and stuff like that.
I think my last video was like a $9,000.
Yeah, I was gonna say, but 9,000. So,
but yeah, no, I mean, I'm on Instagram. I post, you know, about maybe once a day, something like that, and then I've got my YouTube channel under the same name, Automatic Comics. I usually do 2 to 3 videos a week. It's kind of like a mix of, I do what I call kind of like a top 10, but it's, I do 5. So I watch the weekly Heritage Comic Auction, and I pick 5 books that surprised me on the high end and 5 that surprised me on the low end. So kind of, it gives people not just those, you know, those high end, like hyped up type books. It also gives you the ones that shows that, yeah, you can, kind of like Specsman was saying on there, you can find books like big keys at discounts. You know, it happens. You just have to watch enough sites, enough sales, all that kind of thing. And so I do that. Then I've got some market videos I put out every once in a while, and I've been I like doing unboxings, but I've started tying them into other things where I pick one of the books from the unboxing and I expand it, and I start and I pick, you know, 5 to 10 books that are similar for the same character or keys around that character, and I look at how prices have changed over the last year with those books and see if there are any that look like they're undervalued. And so it kind of gives you, and that's one of the ways that I pick up. So a lot of decide to pick up a lot of the books that I end up going after. And it's because like I see like, oh, this one, you know, like I said, with that Detective Comics 298, the Batman 155, you see that book is really undervalued in comparison. And those are the ones that look good to go after for me. And it also shows you the books that are maybe a little overpriced right now. Maybe they've gone up a little more than everything else, and so maybe they're sitting at that peak. So just you know, some things that I think are useful, helpful. Hopefully people enjoy it, so come check out the channel.
And he's also got a big selection of Golden Age stuff that he's getting into. So you know, if you were ever interested in, you know, seeing some books that you might not necessarily ever known about, you know, his Instagram and channel is a good place to stop. But yeah, Ryan's got a lot of good stuff, so make sure you guys go sub him up, check him out. You know, extended family here. I'm hoping that, you know, he sends me an AOK of Tales of Suspense 39 one day, but we'll see. If I
win the lottery, I'll send you one.
If anybody wins the lottery and watches me, I would hope that they would send me an AOK of Tales of Suspense. It doesn't even have to be a high grade. It could just be a 2.0. I'm okay with that. I promise. Face, let the people know where they could find the Comic Kingpins and what you're doing, sir.
We can find us every Monday at 7 o'clock over on Comic Kingpin's channel. On previously on, you know, me and the rest of the guys, we've actually got a 250 subscriber giveaway going on that we're getting closer to. I think we're only like 25 away now. We've got some really great donations from Dan De La Torre, Comic Ozzy, Gets Lab 081, a couple other members of the comic community. So, you know, check us out every Monday at 7 over there, previously on.
7 p.m. Eastern for those of you who are not on. Just in case. Face always forgets to say the time zone. Right. If you thought, hey, you know what? Newbie show is cutting early. I want to see more of Newbie. Guess what? 12:15 a.m. Eastern time. I got a video dropping, $25 fines. The stack was like this big. It's a really good video. So hopefully you guys can check it out. Like I said, it should be dropping about 12:15 a.m. Maybe I'll change the time and, you know, yeah, why don't I do that? I'll change the time actually. So just be on the lookout in the next, like, I don't know, say 30, 40 minutes. I'll change the time and yeah, the video, but it's $25 comic fine. So hopefully you guys like what I found there. And like I said, I've got a few books coming back from CGC shortly, so it is going to be very exciting over here in the Newbieverse because I'll be showing off some books, some investments, and things like that. And yeah, I always put it out there. If you come across a Tales to Spence 39, cheap, affordable. Don't send me. I appreciate when people send it, but there's people that'll send me a picture like, "Hey, dude, 30 grand. There it is." It's like it's a little much.
I've sent some feelers out for you. I've been looking.
Yeah, but if you do come across a Tales to Spence 39 affordable, let me know because I would like to get that one in my collection. So yeah, appreciate it, gentlemen. Any last words?
No, nothing else.
No?
Thanks for having me on. It's always fun.
Man. Always appreciate it. All right, keep searching for those books and keep looking at those auctions, people, because those books are out there. Later.
See ya.
Peace.